Welcome back to our podcast, Deposit That. This is the Anti-Fragile series. Today, I'm your host, and we have a special guest, our regularly host, Jeff VanNote. My mentor, somebody that has been an influence in my life since day one he's met me, and truly, I'm just grateful for this guy. So I want to introduce you guys to the guy that you may already know, but he hasn't got the Anti-Fragile edition series yet. So I just want to do that for him. Jeff?
I'm ready for you.
So, Jeff, first I would like for you to tell the people your why. What is your why, Jeff?
It's just to make the world a better place. You know, I think I've really honed in on that since my son's been born, of like, you know, what world are we heading in? What's coming? And how can I make it better for my sons? Kind of like paving the path for everyone to benefit. Right. But really, so I know, like, when, you know, God, you know, sets that buzzer off and I'm no longer here to be here physically, I know my son will have the best chance of living in a world that I believe should be a better place.
So let's backtrack the who now. Like, who is Jeff VanNote? What did Jeff VanNote? How did Jeff VanNote? The who, what, where, when, and why. But let's sum up this question to what was the uprise or the rise of Jeff like?
Ooh, deep. You gave me chills. I'm not crying yet. Well, I think, who am I? Like, you're always going to get everything from me. And some people like that. Some people don't like that. Some people aren't expecting that. Like, why does Jeff keep doing this? Like, why is Jeff, you know, going above and beyond for me, for this person, right? And it's like, I'm either all in or all out. There's no, like, gray area with myself and anything I've ever done, right? I'm either going to do it all to the best of my ability, or I'm not going to do it at all. And those not do it at all lately have been coming more often because I've realized, like, my energy needs to be conserved for mountains we're moving. You and I, other partners we have, other investors we have, other projects we have. You know, you can't give your all to everybody. And there was a recent business dispute with a group, not to mention any names or numbers, right? The reality of it is I could do 10 things, right? Every day we all do 10 things, 20 things. When I'm doing that one particular thing, I'm giving it my 100% all in that real time.
Right.
So I can give 100% of my attention to 10 things, to 20 things, to one thing, to 3 things every day, right? And people have a misconception, oh, you do too many things. It's like, well, that's a falsity because there's 24 hours in a day.
Right.
So if this one thing only takes 5 minutes, I'm giving it my all 100% for those 5 minutes. And I'm moving on to the next thing. I'm giving it my all, waiting for that 100% to be reached or complete, and then putting that down and starting the next thing.
Right.
So who am I is somebody that's always going to give it their all at anything that they do.
Jeff, since I've known you, you have this year marked down, and it's been a special year for you. Not only just this year alone, but it was a year that you shared with me off camera that was pretty much your year, or what made
the start
Jeff,
of my
the start of your
what's next?
The start of your genius, I would say. So, if the viewers don't know, 20.
It's gonna rain on us, by the way, but I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it if you're cool with it.
Oh wait, yeah, absolutely.
Use a little rain.
So,
don't rain in my parade.
What was 08 like for you, Jeff?
You know, 08 was something that, man, I'm forever grateful for it, and I think my curiosity led me to today and being able and being fortunate enough to sit here today, right? Because 2008 was a war. It was a battle. You had to fight for everything. Fight for every penny. Fight for every piece of knowledge. Fight for every relationship, right? And there were so many inter-battles and wars inside of the bigger global financial crisis, which was the main war, right? War, battle underneath, that my mission was, got my chills again, you know, set out to find out what the hell caused this, what happened, who was behind this, in order to give our world the best, you could leave it, the best chance to not happen again. And in 2017, I identified some behaviors that I believe to be what caused 2008 to happen and come to the head that it did come to, right? Which left a lot of people decimated, dead, divorced, and all the above, homeless, all of the horrible things that happen to people in life, because they're not strong enough to fight through it. They're not around the right people to pull them through that fire, to pull them through that war, right?
Okay.
If you've ever seen the movie Forrest Gump, when the war happens,
Run,
Forrest
Forrest.
Gump saved Lieutenant Dan, right?
Right.
And Lieutenant
Indeed.
Dan was so pissed off at him when he had no legs, and he was pissed off, said, like, you should have let me die, I deserve to die there. I wanted to be Forrest Gump, right? And I knew that I couldn't prevent 2008 from happening again, because I'm just one person.
Correct.
Not everyone's going to listen to me, not everyone's going to like me, and even if they listen to me, it doesn't mean that they're going to follow me, right? I wanted to prepare myself and give myself and teach myself the ability to be Forrest Gump. So if and when 2008 ever happened, all while sharing things with people like, don't do this, stay away from that, I don't like this is a bad lending practice, and sharing all the truth along the way that, you know, as time has gone on, more people have listened because things that I've predicted start to come true.
Hey, that's one thing. Hey, if y'all
Which is proof,
pay attention
right?
on his Instagram, he is your right percent is pretty phenomenal.
So I think the reality of it is I knew that regardless of how many people wanted to be greedy or shoot my vision down or tell me I was wrong based on real life examples and stats that I was monitoring, following, and continuing to remain curious, allowed me to be here today now 7 years later, where I made a mistake or I had an unforeseen to the magnitude I did. I didn't know this thing COVID in 2020 was going to happen.
Right.
So what I predicted was going to happen right now would have happened in 2020 if this COVID thing happened, where it was all manipulated and whatever happened.
Kind of
we all know.
prolonged your prediction.
So all that did was make my prediction 2 times, 3 times, 10 times greater. So when I said we're going to the 5th floor and it's going to collapse, now we're at the 12th floor, and now it's just a further, drop to the bottom. Which,
Right.
as you know, because of gravity, the higher you put something up, the further and more magnified something falls. And we're starting to see that in the market now.
Bigger they fall, harder they fall.
And I would say the hardest thing, to be honest with you, throughout the time frame, even though you didn't ask this question, the hardest thing for me was staying true to what I knew was inevitable, because I had the masses telling me I was wrong. I was only 30 years old. How could I make such bold predictions? What do you mean the office building is going to collapse in 2017?
Right.
What do you mean commercial real estate's overvalued by 60 to 80%? Right? And I made these predictions based on what I was seeing and living in real time.
So at 30, if I'm not mistaken, you did leave a profession that you was at for 10 years.
Yeah, my income went from $40,000 to $50,000 a month, literally to zero.
So what was
While still having expenses that didn't go away.
What was that transition like? Why would you, or why, some average people would say, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
Why would you change your professions from 40 to 50? You was up on the rise to zero.
I knew that I had put a good 10 years in. I knew I'd become an expert in that 10 years and earned being an expert. And I wanted more for myself, and I wanted to be able to help more people, and I wanted to be self-taught. I didn't want somebody else to teach me, because they would teach me based on what their history and experience looked like, right? And I've yet to find anybody in this business collectively real estate finance, that's an expert in all types of real estate financing. And I knew I had clients that owned all types of real estate financing. So if you relied on me for this, and you can't rely on me for that, I felt inadequate. And I knew the only way to become an expert in all the real estate endeavors that I'm in financially, I needed to let that preseason, that 10-year preseason or career, or whatever you want to call it, go in order to go 100% all in on what no one else knew. And if I still had this ability to make 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes $100,000 a month, I'd be sucked back into that, while I wanted to fight tooth and nail and struggle to take a new career at 0 earnings per month and build that back up to $100,000 a month.
So
in new income.
I mean, I'm actually speechless, because 0 is a strong number for a lot of people. A lot of people, when they see 0,
it was worse than 0.
Oh, negatives even.
You have to invest. You still have to live, right? You
That's
have to
very true.
Buy people dinner. I was actually went from $50,000 a month on average to negative probably $30,000 a month.
So how do you get through that? We'll talk about that adversity, the pressure, the just the nonstop. I need Jeff, and you got nobody to lean on.
Well,
what was that like?
So I think that right there got a shift from making a boatload of money, living full of freedom lifestyle, to them being negative. Like, there's only so much money you could lose before you're like, why do I keep doing this? Like, where's the path to profitability? You know, throw in there major life events that happened.
Yeah,
my
please.
girlfriend at the time got pregnant with my son, who was the biggest blessing in my life.
Shout out Lil JJ.
A month before he was born, the contract that I had with the mortgage bank, so I was doing consulting work, I was just to make ends meet, right? Didn't get paid, they didn't pay my insurance, and my ankle broke, and I didn't have insurance. I was facing a $47,000 bill on top of all the other expenses. I had a partner at the time that struggled with his own demons, and another partner that inevitably bankrupted my business that no one even knows about. It's no one else's business, right, but my own. And bankrupt in the sense that it went below negative, and I lost all the money because I put up all the money. So I think, forget about losing money. It's more about people that you trust or believe in that let you down. And I shifted that mentality from, they were really just letting themselves down all along, and that was God, or that was the higher up, or that was the universe clearing people from my path and my journey. That when I did, because I will hit it big one day, I mean big, not like a couple $1 million, right?
Hundreds of millions. We're coming.
Whatever, something. And again, all that stuff means nothing to me because I'm still going to live my humble lifestyle.
Still going to be Jeff regardless.
And still taking JJ with me wherever I go. Right. You know, hopefully just having the freedom and the ability to help people and the resources to help people. You know, they weren't around for the big win. And you know, I give you an example. I had a partner that was 50-50 that tried beating me out of legitimately $5,000 and tried scumbagging me with a client. And the client was my client. He called me up like the day after Christmas and was like, hey, this is what happened. This doesn't make sense. Is this cool with you? And I'm like, wow. And I lost it, though. I could have scorched earth, you know, and I didn't. And for $5,000, right, when I put him on, I gave him an opportunity. I bailed him out of jail. I gave him money that I wasn't even paying myself because I thought that was the right thing to do for a friend. And, you know, last year I closed one deal, made $88,000. He made, because you know how loyal I am, he would have gotten $44,000 out of that. I closed a deal this year and made $110,000. He would have gotten $55,000 out of that, where my client, my relationship, my capital source, my network, and I would have honored that 50-50 agreement. So for him trying to beat me out of $5,000 on 2 deals I just told you, cost him $99,000 on top of the other hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that I made in my career.
Absolutely.
That I would have given him 50-50 all along. He just did the right thing, right? But that was the universe showing me this person served a purpose for a season. My heart was 100% in the right place. I did this. I could sleep at night knowing I didn't hurt him. And the reality of it is people hurt themselves. Like, no one goes out and says, I intentionally want to hurt Jeff. They're like, oh, I'm just going to take this deal because I'm entitled to this or I deserve this, right? The other fault I have is, and hope maybe you've seen this, is people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Like, you don't know all the stories from my past 17 years. Where people are at today, and people attribute what I do to be successful today, and success is all relevant to the person.
100%.
They're like, well, if Jeff could do it, I could do it. Jeff makes it look easy. They don't know
what the fuck you actually go through. Absolutely.
The 6,000 days and, you know, the millions of dollars that I've invested or spent or lost by choice or not by choice, right? Like, they don't know that stuff.
My dad once told me that a lot of people are fascinated about results, not the work.
Completely. And we see that, I think you see that, you know, going to Midtown Biohack. Like,
absolutely.
When we say at the machine, every machine starts off at 0.
You got your last test scores right in front of you that you want to beat.
Right, it's not about my test scores, it's about your test scores.
It's mine. It's not yours and nobody else's, it's mine. So, Jeff, I don't even want to move to the anti-fragile part again. I still want to ask you a couple more questions regarding just the level of difficulty it took to get to this calm but passionate but willing to give back to people person that you are today. I must ask, how? Like, what practices or what things did you do to be this guy today? Because, I mean, we had our last guest, Greg. Sorry, I don't know why I keep mixing y'all guys' name up. But you and Greg, well, Greg mentioned that...
Greg's only known me for a limited time, short period of time, 3 years.
Fair. And he said that when he first met you, you were kind of, like, just always on the move, rah, rah, rah. And not even a rah, 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 but just, like, everything was intensified with you to a calm demeanor. Mm-hmm. So I want to know, what do you practice to bring that, all right, you know what? It was once this, but now I found the new way for myself.
So, look, when you're laying butt naked on a rooftop like we are right now with 800 drones that can shoot over you, and you're laying butt naked, I'm talking about butt naked, balls hanging out, right? Nowhere to hide, no shelter, and these 800 drones are actually shooting to kill you, or you feel as if they're shooting to kill you, shoot to hurt you. You know, you have to be in a survival, reactive to survive sharp as a tack, ahead of the next move, anticipating where that next shot's going to come from. That's not a good quality of life. That's not a good way to live. And I put myself in positions, or life put me in positions, to teach me how to move 200 miles per hour control. So depending on certain stages of where people met me, I have friends that go back to 2008, business friends that I've never separated from since 2008, right? So you have people that have known me since day one, and then people come along in different chapters, different years,
right.
Depending on where they met me. They know what they know from that point on. They may have heard stories from the past. You know, when my ankle broke and I was laying on my bed, hopeless, knowing my son was about to be born, ridden with fear, anxiety, worry, hurt, guilt, shame, all these things. What if I did this? What if I didn't do that? What if I didn't make this investment? What if I didn't give this guy $100,000 without a signed contract? All the things that you can imagine replaying were nowhere to go because your ankle's fully shattered. You have no insurance, and your ankle's swollen so bad they can't even operate on you for a week, sitting there in excruciating pain. I don't even know how this came about, truthfully, but I went to YouTube. I started Googling like meditation for fear, meditation for anxiety, because the only thing I had was my cell phone, my bank account, which was not fully depleted of funds, but there weren't as much funds as I'd like. Not enough funds to get me through the next couple of years, put it like that. So, and every day that goes by, those funds are getting depleted. There's no new money coming in. I was like, the only thing I have right now is my mind. I need to sharpen my mind. And I know my emotions aren't in check. So I went down the meditative route, and then I started getting into the mind-body connection, and I would probably spend, before and after surgery, I don't know, I would get 3 to 4 massages a week, because I realized the more physical tension that was being released and removed from my body, the more my brain would open up. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to meditate for my brain, and whatever tension, trauma, storage, tightness, fear, fight, flight was stored, these are helping. And what is it, $60 to $100 a massage? So that's $180, $300 a week. I then started getting into the spiritual component of it. Started, working with some type of different healers, some remote, some in person, Reiki, all that. And then, when COVID happened, and 2020 was going to be my year, like to come out the gates, ready to rock and roll. I was strong as shit on my own, built myself up back in 2019. COVID happened, and I couldn't run. My ankle was still jammed up. I had done PT, but I still had plates and screws in it. I hired an NFL combine trainer, Rich Sadiv, who's an actual, world-class power lifter, has set numerous world records. Rich Sadiv was the teacher I needed because I was a student and I was ready to be ready. So I wanted to focus on now taking my physical strength to another level and adding in the mental strength of not having to, but choosing to, waking up every day between 5 and 6 a.m., driving an hour to train with him at his personal facility, work out and become as strong as humanly possible so I couldn't break again. And I knew that the physical strength led to mental strength, and my mental strength led to additional physical strength, right? So that was the rebuilding from the ground up, like bounce back by building from the ground up component of it. Shortly after that, I was introduced to Suzanne, who's been one of my angels. She owns the Om Center, which became a sound bath meditation acupuncture practice. So now I built myself up to this, I'm gonna gloat, like, come on, this Herculean style monster, right? Who you couldn't mess with physically. I went from 161 to 195.
That's huge.
In a year and a half.
That's
as
huge. Much
solid muscle as my body would allow, right? Still while eating like a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, eating ice cream because you had to. Couldn't miss those experiences.
Got to stay young a little bit.
Suzanne was a blessing in disguise because now she opened me up to a whole new world, and everything that I did to build, she broke down and rebuilt back from a maybe metaphysical standpoint, right? Like, okay, I'm strong, but your muscle's too tight, and if we just release this muscle here, you'll be even stronger. So I started incorporating those modalities, and Suzanne's $300 a session. Whoop. And I was seeing her 2 to 5 times a week.
You said 2 to 5. You can do the math on that. You can do the math on that.
So in the heat of it, I was spending $500 per week with my personal trainer, Rich Sadiv, who's become a personal friend of mine. So it's $500 a week right there, and $600 to $1,500 per week at Suzanne.
2,000 on just getting better.
A week, right? You could do the math, and now we're, I've gone all in all for personal training. I went down the personal training route myself because I wanted to hit certain levels. I needed to go within, and I didn't want to drive an hour. And life chose to bring it within and make me figure that out, how to get better. So those were the 2 real foundational components of the investments that I made in myself to allow myself to be the best version of myself, right? So like first with the mind, then with the body. My body didn't work, so all I had was my mind. Then my mind and body came back together, and I wanted to really enhance those and strengthen those with true experts and subject matter experts who've proved it, who've lived it, who gave me unconditional love and value, and that would also be real with me. And then this past May, as you know, I found Dr. Chuck in Midtown Biohack, and that was the additional unlocking to the feisty, fury, controlled 200 miles per hour Jeff VanNote, where I really started learning about the brain and the nervous system. And it all starts with the brain and nervous system.
Absolutely.
Also, that comes with personal evolution and pride. Like, I don't want to be the same Jeff VanNote when you see me every day. I want to be the better. I want to be the better. And when I understood, like, life is a story of peaks and valleys. Working out, personal friendships, relationships, all one big roller coaster. And I realized that because of outside situations and curveballs and blindsided hits that I'm signed up for, that's the world that I live in. Multiple companies, multiple startups, multiple businesses, relationships, you name it. It's the world we live in. That I needed to always show up better regardless of what was happening to me. So like, even if I just took 3 shots to the chest, you would never know about it, and I'm going to show up better. 5 shots to the legs, take my legs out. Okay, my legs are taken out, but I grew back stronger and I keep getting better. So I felt like I always wanted to keep getting up. So even time I got knocked down, I was still at a higher place than when you saw me last. And I think that's allowed me to put it into perspective. And also being able to realize, like, my son's health and well-being and being able to do whatever I want with him was really the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, there's still times where, like, I still have that ability to fucking shoot and kill, But I realized, like, as you get older, no one benefits from that. Even though I shot somebody and killed somebody, I still gotta live with that. Like, ooh, I got to shower right now.
You got the blood on you.
So I didn't want to be that monster. That I still have that monster inside of me, but I've been able to take that monster and fight my own monster inside of me, rather than fight the monsters outside of me.
I like that. So, Jeff, it's time. It's about that time. The anti-fragile portion of this podcast is upon you. Okay, and I first must ask, because Jeff, you brought me in.
You brought yourself in.
Well, yeah, universe, but
Viso actually brought you in, so.
Technically, shout out to my brother Viso. I got you. Shout out my brother Viso, man. My business partner, my brother, my right hand. Come on, man. So when I first heard this saying and this quote that you used, I was like, that's intense. But it's so short, but it's intense. But it can have a variety of meanings. And what I'm quoting is that anti-fragile. When you said it to me, I felt like it instantly had a place in my heart. So
yeah, me too.
I would like to know, what does anti-fragile mean to the creator himself, Jeff?
Well, you go back to the beautiful building venture of Re-Verify, and without realizing it, I built an anti-fragile business model, which is Re-Verify. Okay? And while I was doing that, since March of 2020, I said, I need to build technology that's going to thrive and survive to its own right and be immune to market conditions. So if the world collapses, this Re-Verified technology and feature will skyrocket. If this happens in the market, this feature will skyrocket. And I went as wide as possible, while every single person was like, you're doing it wrong, you're throwing money away, you're wasting money, and all these things may be true. You're gonna take longer to go to the market.
Perception.
I'm doing it my way, which has never been done before, okay? And I also said, anybody who knows real estate or lending or knows value, are you going to show up to the one-stop shop to get everything because it's convenient, because that's the world we live in?
Yes, sir.
Or do you want to go to 10 different websites, domains, apps in order to accomplish the one thing?
Yeah.
So while I understand I'm taking this financial risk, because it's a major risk, I've probably about $500,000 of my own money invested into the bigger picture, it's like, I know this is the right way to do it. And I have nothing but time. I'm 37 years old. So if it doesn't pop off till I'm 40, I'm okay with that. 45, I'm okay. 50, I'm okay with that. I'm still 50. If it pops off for 50 million, 200 million when I'm 50, okay, right? And if it pops off next year, great. Like, I'm not looking for a quick hit exit. I'm looking to make a lasting impact, to become the household norm for real estate transacting and financing. That's a pretty big mountain to move, right? And Goliath to fight.
Capable of doing it, though.
Yeah, with the right people and the right parties and the right strategy and the right mindset, right? So, to me, Anti-Fragile is creating something that might bend, but will never break. And I think it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done because I know the vision, I see the vision, but getting other people, being reliant on other people to help bring that vision to life. Like I'm not a tech guy, I'm not a developer, Other people have to hear my vision. I've never done it or seen it with my experience and create it for tangible usage. And that's been a learning curve of like speaking its own language, but symmetrically raising my son is almost like raising Re-Verify, right? Like I have a vision and I know I have to train my son and educate my son based on who my son is, not on who I am.
You gotta give him the lessons, but you can't give him who
it's the same way. So it's almost like paving that path and putting enough out there to be built, maybe knock down and rebuild, right? Or to be built and constantly laying the proper foundation so when that hurricane does come or happen, you're strong enough to know that you might fall down, but you're not gonna get knocked over. Meaning like your feet are still gonna be implanted in the ground and now you just have to stand back up, but you're not laying completely flat and parallel with the land.
So Jeff, how do you in your world, it's a lot of moving pieces at all times. There's so many different people, so many different things that you gotta be conscious of. How do you stay connected to all that? How do you, because I've seen you on the phone have 4 separate conversations, 4 different tones, and 4 different subjects. But you have the same passion, you have the same reliance to information, you have the same resources, well maybe not the same resources you're pouring into somebody, but you have the same confidence in what resources I'm gonna apply to you. So I ask, like, how do you stay connected to that? How do you...
Caring.
Wow.
Like, if your heart's in it, how can you choose when your heart's not in it? Right? It's like, this is my obligation, this is my responsibility, this is my privilege that someone's calling me with a very important, or what might be a very important question or ask or need for themselves. It might seem elementary to me, but they're calling me for a reason. But also what I do is, within the first 3 seconds, I know whether someone's coming at me to waste my time, take a shot at me, find out information, or is genuinely asking for help. And based on my experience of dealing with people, I try and know within 3 seconds whether I'm going to give everybody everything or have to cut this short.
Right. So this is part of the Anti-Fragile series, and I was very curious about this. And I have to ask, Jeff, what did you see in myself to allow you to be so open and so willing to show me the things that you showed me? Because for the cameras and for the viewers, I'm a 27-year-old that I've worked with athletes, obviously. I've done my fair share in teaching. I've made a name in somewhat of myself in the field I'm in, but obviously I'm not nowhere I would like to be yet, and I still have a lot to learn. But within our first conversation, you were so welcoming and open, and like you said before, you give 100% of yourself. But how do you delegate that? How do you know, like, I mean, obviously you may not know, but what was your thought process in saying, hey, that 27-year-old, let me show him something. Let me bring him under my wing. Let me have him be my co-host.
I give credit to you of showing up and like the person who I think you are, right? I'm pretty confident on my ability to read people, but I think it's our obligation. Again, I'm no longer the youngest guy, the youngest kid in the room, and nobody took me under their wing in my entire career unless they financially benefited from me.
Wow.
Let me correct myself. One person, Ralph Russo, genuinely cared about me as a person and took me under his wing, and I wasn't ready for him for many reasons. It was the age of technology starting to become relevant. I was immature, and I lost all my trust and faith in people when football ended. So I was unable to identify that Ralph Russo really did have my best interest in mind. You almost brought tears to my eyes, almost.
Got it.
So he was probably the only one, aside from my dad, but that's my dad, right? So different story. When you constantly get shot at by people, you lose faith and trust in people, and you put it all back on yourself. Right. And the person after that in 2017, Michael Beatty, who, respect him more than anybody, from someone who's not my family, took me under his wing when he didn't have to. He didn't need me. I couldn't make him any more money than he made himself. And he saw something in me that, even though I challenged his relationship and probably challenged his mindset, or I maybe have handled things immaturely and irresponsibly throughout our relationship, never gave up on me when he could have given up on me. And again, he didn't know everything to the extent of what was going on. He knew enough of it. And I'll never forget, like after my ankle broke, one of his partners at the time, there was a questionable decision made on a deal. And I sent him a message. And I had no business sending him this message. And well, I don't take it back, but like I directed my anger and rage and everything that was going on in my life at him. It was over a check, over a closing, over money that he wasn't responsible for. His firm had ended up closing a deal for a client. A broker had scumbagged me, took my client and closed and kept all the money. I found that the deal closed, and I said, if you and your partner don't send me a check, you guys best hide out. Because if I find you on the street, like you both are gonna get it.
That was old Jeff talking. Old Jeff came out.
Because I'm like, you guys don't need this. B, like I thought your loyalty was to me, but again, it wasn't him. I directed at him because his partner wasn't responding to me truthfully, and his partner had never screwed me over money. Still to this day, it was just a bad look. Like I introduced this client to your operation, it got brought back to you. You guys should have said, hey, we already saw this deal from Jeff. Jeff's due this commission. Because the borrower was a scumbag, right. The broker was a bigger scumbag, and I didn't get my cut. And he said, Jeff, I know you have things going on in your life. Let's basically take a 6-month break from each other.
Wow.
Because this is what we have to do right now. Like basically call a timeout. Not fuck you, not you're dead to me, not never resurface. And lo and behold, 6 months later, May of 2019, I get a text like, hey, we'd love to have you up to come play basketball Sunday morning in Connecticut with me and all my friends.
Wow.
And I spent 2019 every Sunday, me and Jason, who we met, drove up to Connecticut and played, basketball with a bunch of old school hedge fund guys, tons of money, right? And still to this day, Michael and I still do business. He refers to me as his partner because we run a joint venture together in the lending business. And I feel it's my responsibility to see something in someone and help them be better, or help open up doors, or help give opportunities. And the reality is, like I said earlier, most people can show up once, but can you keep showing up? Right. Can you keep the relationship engaged? Can you keep the opportunities coming? Can you also open up new doors? Can you implement what I'm trying to show you or teach you without telling you I'm trying to teach and show you this? And can you do this without me making it, a very well-known point? So I think, for yourself, it's all potential, and potential what you do with it based on what I expose you to. And I think, like I said the other day, hopefully when you're 37, you'll find a 27-year-old that may need your guidance, and it's your responsibility to give that back to him or her.
Right. So what advice from this Jeff today would you give 21-year-old Jeff that told his mentor at that time, I will come find you and your partner? What advice would you give that guy now from the things that you learned at Bio?
Back it up.
Ooh.
Everything I said, I could back up. Like, I told you I was coming to your house, I'm coming to your house. If I told you I was showing up at your office, I came to your office.
You saying tell 21-year-old back it up?
If you're going to make statements that are aggressive and blind, be able to back it up and also be prepared to get your teeth knocked out, right? I didn't say it with the cockiness. I said it with everything I've ever done or said was from my heart. It might not have been right. It might have been improperly delivered, right? So if you're going to be true to yourself, like everything I ever did, I was true to myself in that moment. But again, I would drop a bomb and walk out of that room. Everyone just, got killed. And I didn't care about it because I knew that in my heart, I felt lied to, deceived, let down, hurt, robbed, whatever it was, right? So I always made true to myself, but it was from an immature standpoint. And I also had to take the responsibility of, like, I let this piece of shit into my world, into my network, into this circle. I didn't expect them. I knew they were a piece of shit, but I didn't think they were going to be a piece of shit to me. I knew they were robbing people, but they would never rob me, and then they robbed me, and I would fucking scorch earth.
Right.
So I think that's the reality of it, is like, if you know somebody's a criminal, don't assume they won't be a criminal to you. If you know somebody's a cold-blooded killer, don't assume like they're not going to kill someone that you bring to the table. And that's where I made those mistakes, right? I also think like putting blind trust and faith in people, thinking everyone I operated with the values and morals that I thought were my values and morals that I operated with, never bucking from that and understand like not everyone operates over the same values and morals, and most people are opportunists looking to use you as a stepping stone and not looking to go somewhere together with you long term. Most people don't have the endurance to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have the endurance.
The majority.
So I got 2 more questions and we could close it out, Jeff. My first question would have to be, and it's gonna be a deep one. It's gonna have to be, Jeff, over everything that you have done, what has been one of your biggest successes in life right now, so far? What has been the one?
Still being able to sit here today making an impact.
Wow.
So I could have given up 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I could have given up last week, Friday. That's the reality of it. I could shut everything down, hide behind the scenes, make a boatload of fucking money, no one would know about it. Right? So my biggest success is still being able to sit here today with the war stories, scars, bumps, bruises, hurts, pains, lessons, losses, wins, and being able to share it, right? Like that's the biggest success.
Being able to share it.
Your average person would have given up in 2010 based on what I've been through
7.
up into 2010.
Wouldn't even made it to 2008.
Wouldn't have made it out the gate. Yeah.
And my last question, which I feel like is the most impactful question of all our guests when they're here and they're about to leave. Actually, you got 3 questions. Technically, I lied. So my next question would have to be, what legacy do you want to leave behind, Jeff? What does legacy mean to you, and what do you want to leave behind as Jeff VanNote's legacy?
I think most people don't appreciate people until they're gone or dead.
Okay.
What I will say is all the people that are criticizing you when you've made it to their eyes or criticizing you because you're different won't be at your funeral, right? And they won't be there to help you when you need the help, right? So eliminate them. The people now. There's truth to some criticism, right? Constructive criticism from trusted people, but the noise out there isn't important, right? So I think it's being able to identify, hey, he made the industry a better place. He helped make a lot of people who had no chance of being millionaires be millionaires through real estate and business. Right. And I have plenty of stories that people will come on this camera and verify that. And then the third is just bigger picture, like, okay, he left the world a better place, or he tried to make the world a better place through all the things that he did. And I think being able to give people, helping people get their leg up or get their fighting chance to succeed. Like, hey, he gave me an opportunity. I fumbled the ball, or like I didn't execute on it, but Jeff truly gave me an opportunity. Like, that's probably what I would want to be known for the most, giving people opportunities that may have never been awarded those opportunities.
Would you say that would be a deposit that message? Because we need that. Jeff, you are the host of this show, and so far this interview has been above phenomenal. So I feel like your deposit
that is you got to show up consistently. You can show up once, but if you keep showing up consistently, you just position yourself for the opportunity for success. And all you have to do is just show up consistently. You don't have to do anything, say anything, speak anything, but the more times you show up, the probability tells you that the more likely you are to step in shit and succeed.
Wow. You heard it here first, guys. I'm Malik McGee, Jeff VanNote. That was deposited.